Oh, hello, it's Ezra Levant. It's November 22nd, and you're watching Battleground. Oh, hey, folks, how you doing? Ezra Levant here. I'm dressed in my high-visibility shirt, which is too embarrassing, and it would blind you, so I'm wearing a black sweater on top of it. I just want to give you a fashion update from the fashion headquarters. So I'm not just the Rebel commander, I'm the fashion commander of the Rebel. Everyone knows that. We've got a lot of things to talk about today. I want to show you a funny video from the launch of Tesla's truck. Oh my God, it's very funny. I want to talk a little bit about the sacking of Lauren Gibson, Rachel Notley's hand-picked elections commissioner from Alberta, who had hunted our own Sheila Gunn-Reid, and we'll Justin, I'm sure, will play clips of the private investigator threatening Sheila. I'll show you a funny clip from CNN on Donald Trump's impeachment. It's just too funny. And I should tell you that literally moments ago, like I'm talking about in the last 10 minutes, we just received news that our Rebel team is now safely inside Hong Kong. And I didn't want to announce that until they were in, because although Hong Kong is still fairly free, you never know. I saw news the other day that a fairly senior journalist from the UK was barred from entry. And so I didn't want to take a risk of our people being kicked out. So it's our friend Cian Bexty who'll be there. And Cian's a great journalist. And can you believe it? He's there at the same time as our friend Avi Yamini is there. Avi went there last time on our behalf. You can see Avi's videos at HongKongReports.com. That's from the last time he went. Cian's videos will be on that same page too, HongKongReports.com. I'm excited that Cian's there, that our old friend Avi is there, and we may actually, yeah, there you go. Will China crush Hong Kong? The Rebel is sending Avi Yamini to find out. So this is the old version of the page that had all of Avi's videos on it. I really recommend them. There were some really good interviews. There were some that were even funny, believe it or not. Cian will be there. I have to say, when Avi was there, it had a bit of a festival feeling, like freedom was on the march and students, the new wave. Well, that was over a month ago, and things have certainly gone a lot darker since then, and more violent. And Beijing has decided to squash things. It's no longer just about the extradition bill that was being promoted that would allow mainland China to basically seize any Hong Kong Chinese, bring them to Beijing, and that would be the last seen of them. That bill at least has been suspended, or I don't know if it's being fully withdrawn, but it's much more than that now. It's about Hong Kong freedoms in general, and I think China realizes that if Hong Kong is allowed to defy the regime, well, who would be next? Tibet? Xinjiang province, where the Muslim Uyghurs are? It's really a question of empire, isn't it? I've been to Masada in Israel, and you might be thinking, what's Masada got to do with China and Hong Kong? Well, there was a rebellion against the Roman Empire, and the rebels fled to this mountain in the desert called Masada. And there's only a few hundred of them up top of the mountain in a palace. Do you want to grab a picture of Masada, M-A-S-A-D-A? It's an amazing architectural place. It's King Herod built a palace. I wouldn't even call it a castle. It was a luxury palace on the top of a mountain in the desert. Back then, who knows what the climate was like? It was probably more hospitable. And these Jewish rebels fled to this desert hideout. Yeah. You can, like, you see those 3 layers there? Those are different, like, patios, different balconies. And on the very top of this mountain, and you see on the right there something that looks like a ramp? That is a ramp built by the Roman army, and they actually used a battering ram to batter down the walls. They laid siege to this place, and they battered down the walls, and they finally took it. Why would the Romans go to such... and it's in the middle of nowhere. You could see the Dead Sea off to the left there. Why would the Romans... and can you put up another Masada image? And this is 2,000 years ago. You can see where the Roman legions had their encampments down below. They had their siege camps. They had a siege wall on the bottom of the mountain. The Jewish rebels against the Roman Empire, they weren't in any hurry to leave, because even though it was in the desert, they could collect rainwater and had all these cisterns up there, and they were fine up there. Why? Here's my point. You're thinking, Ezra, I thought we were talking about Hong Kong. Why would Rome send thousands and thousands and thousands of soldiers to lay siege to this desert? Yeah, that's another shot of the three layers of. Don't worry about it. But there's shots you could still see the remains of the Roman camps on the ground. Why did they send thousands of soldiers, and probably, in terms of purchasing power, spend the equivalent in today's money of $1 billion, taking out a few hundred rebels on the top of a mountain? That doesn't make sense. There were no military threat. They were stuck on the top of a mountain. Why would you spend, I'm going to call it $1 billion in ancient money worth of value, to send thousands of men for years? Why would you build this huge ramp? Yeah, that's the view of one of the Roman, I think. I don't quite recognize that, but thanks for digging out the photo anyways. Why? Well, it's obvious why. Because if you're in Rome and you let a rebellion happen in Judea, the Roman province of Judea, well, maybe the province of Gaul will have a rebellion next. Maybe Londinium will rebel next. If you allow a rebellion somewhere, other parts of the empire might get a little restless. Whereas if you crush and kill a rebellion completely in one Roman province, well, the others say, oh, yikes, okay, maybe that's not such a good idea. As they would say in French, it's pour encourager les autres, to encourage the others, to teach a lesson to the others. That's why they took down Masada. Do you want to put some B-roll of police attacks of the Hong Kong Polytechnic University up? My point is, Hong Kong, it's a city of what? Going from memory, 8 million people? But it's now a fully integrated part of China. There is no border between mainland China and Hong Kong. There's a boundary, but that's not a border. And so Communist China, if they allow this defiance in Hong Kong, well, then maybe Macau gets big ideas. Maybe Shanghai even says, well, we're not like those guys in Beijing. It's a huge country, China, geographically, and it is very distinct ethnically. Yeah, this is actual footage from I think this is a vehicle at the Polytechnic, the university. It feels like a flashback to Tiananmen Square, which was also a student-led protest in Beijing, of course. So our friend Kian literally just landed, and I have a message from him on the screen. Minor luggage issue delayed us. We're heading out now. So they're on the ground, guys. And if we get a video from them, in fact, I don't even know if we want to try and Skype them in live. That would be pretty fun if we can get it. Here's another scene. I think this, yeah, do you see that? It's a real game of, it's sort of a high-tech arms race in a way. You see the protesters there, you see they're being hosed down there. In some cases, the police are using blue dye to mark people. They're using facial recognition apps. So people try and foil those by wearing face masks and using lasers to aim at the cameras that are trying to facial recognize people. I even saw a very strange device where someone had a little projector that was projecting a different face onto their face. I have no idea if that's technically effective or not. But do you want to send a little note? Do you want to send a note to Kian and see if he's able to join us via Skype? Wouldn't that be cool? If he just literally landed and got his luggage and is probably on his way to the hotel right now. Yeah, look at that. Look at that. I don't even know if that works. Isn't that weird? Do you see what that is? Do you see how that's like a headband with a projector on it that projects a different face onto your face? That's designed to foil a machine learning AI facial recognition system. What do you think of them apples? That's how you fight the Chinese communists. That's how you have to, because they're very, very high tech. So our friend Kian will be there. I don't think Kian's going to wear a face mask. He may have to wear a gas mask if there's tear gas. I'm very excited about that. So Kian just landed. He will, and he's got a cameraman, producer with him, editor. So we will have videos, I'm guessing, within an hour. And you can see them at hongkongreports.com. Right now, we just have Avi's videos there. But we'll have Kian's there too. And they're both there on the ground right now. I hope our friends meet up. I'd like Kian to interview Avi, because Avi's become a bit of a celebrity in the Chinese democracy movement because of his good work. So I'm very proud of Avi, and I know Kian will do a great job too. All right. There's a couple other things I'd like to talk about today. Listen, I know there's heavy things people want to talk about, but I just have to show you this Tesla truck thing. So I think Tesla is a bit of a joke. I think that it's an extremely expensive way for rich liberals to virtue signal. The cars have very little range. They have almost no range in a cold climate like Canada. They're impractical. They sort of look a little bit cool, maybe, but it's really about, it's like if you're a vegetarian, you tell everyone hey, did you know I'm vegan? Hey, I'm vegan. Hey. I mean, half the job of being vegan is telling people you're a vegan. It's not even about the food you eat. I think it's even more so with Tesla. Would anyone buy a Tesla if they couldn't brag to their neighbors? Or maybe it's in response to their neighbors bragging, they have to get a Tesla too. Wow, I see a $100 super chat there from Eagle Sense. Like the relaxed look, love the reporting of you and the Rebel team. Thanks very much. You know, I was in a meeting. I didn't have time to put on a proper shirt and jacket. I'll do that by tonight. But I thought, I don't look absolutely terrible, so forgive me today. This Tesla. I think Tesla is a bit of a shell game, a bit of a con game. I like Elon Musk. He's tough not to like. Can we get the pot smoking viz of Elon Musk? I like how he just goes on Joe Rogan's show, smokes some pot, and talks about, are we in a simulation? Dude. And I think it's pretty funny. And I think he's sort of cool. And I think he's sort of quirky. And he's a combination of cool and nerdy at the same time that's just fun to watch. And he's just absolutely short attention span guy. One day he's putting together flamethrowers. He sold flamethrowers. One day he's got this company that's drilling holes. He calls it the Boring Company. Get it? Boring? I wonder if he literally set up that company because of the pun. He's involved with some space scheme. And this is that's just him there. Dude, that's just such a great, isn't that great? It's great as a pop culture character. But frankly, I'm not sure if I would want to invest money with that man, because I think he's a little bit of a showbiz guy, and I think his company would be dead were it not for literally billions of dollars in subsidies, both at the production level and, for example, here in the province of Ontario, massive subsidies, like 8-10 grand subsidies if you buy a Tesla. Well, I'm sorry, poor people can't afford to buy a Tesla. It's for rich people. So why are we taxing Joe and Jane Lunchbucket to give a a fancy car rebate to a millionaire virtue signaler who wants Tesla to show off to the neighbors. I don't get it. So I'm a skeptic of Tesla to begin with, and I know that all those Teslas in California, they're not really powered by batteries, because a battery is just a storage device. A battery does not generate power. It stores power and then transmits power. What Teslas actually run on, in California at least, is coal. Because it's the coal-fired power plants that charge up the Tesla and they go. A battery is not a power source, it's a power storage. Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't turn off my ringing watch before we're doing it. So let me show you the latest quirkiness. Oh my God. Did you know that Tesla rolled out a truck? Not just any truck. This truck. Take a look.
Welcome to the Cybertruck Unveil. I love you guys too. I love you guys too. Hey. Trucks have been the same for a very long time. Like 100 years. Trucks have been basically the same. We want to try something different. So I present to you the Cybertruck. Doesn't look like anything else.
Look like a few other things. It looks like an unfinished product. It looks like when I was in Boy Scouts as a kid, they gave us all a block of wood, 2 wheels on axles, and they said, go home and with your dad, cut it into a car, polish it, sand it, paint it, and then bring it back and we'll have Boy Scout races. This was Cub Scout, so we were pretty young. So it was a good chance to work with tools with your dad. I don't even know if anyone does that anymore in the 21st century. And we were started out with a block of wood. Like it was just an absolute rectangular block. And what we had to do was use power tools at home to shape it and sand it. That looked like a kid who maybe didn't have, who just like, I've never seen anything uglier. Here's some, I'm so proud when they went with my design on this one. That's pretty much exactly what it looks like. Show a few more. There were some really funny ones. Like if you just type in Tesla truck and then click on media. Yeah. That's it. Yeah. That's what it looks like. The Tesla truck. I mean, the regular Teslas, I don't think they look particularly sexy. That's right. Yeah. It's sort of like a low res video game, very angular. I thought it looked really weird, but then, it looks extremely ugly. But remember, what is the point of a Tesla? It's so people know you have a Tesla. And so people will talk to you about your Tesla. A Tesla's actually not about being a beautiful vehicle. It's actually not about being a practical vehicle. A Tesla is like a piece of metal a metal version of being a vegan. Gets you a chance, hey, what do you think of my truck? Oh, I think your truck is ugly. No, I think it's pretty. No, oh, all of a sudden I am the center. Yeah, that one at the bottom, they're both ugly. They're both pretty ugly. But that one on the top is really real. Now, the thing is, in San Francisco, where a lot of all these tech bros are, and that's where a lot of these Teslas are bought and sold, there is a huge and crazy crime wave in San Francisco now. There's a huge homelessness problem, drug use problem, needles on the street, condoms on the street, just a lot of hobos. And there's in fact, Teslas in particular are being targeted for smash and grabs, like smash the glass window and rob the Teslas. And it makes sense if someone's got a Tesla, that's sort of a wealthy car. Maybe they probably have a couple iPhones in there, probably have a laptop, right? So there's a crime wave, it's very bad, but Teslas for some reason have been targeted, and that's been making the news. One tech CEO wrote an op-ed about how upset he is about all that. And so, weirdly, this Tesla truck, the Cybertruck, even that name, Cybertruck, feels so 90s-ish, doesn't it? So they said it's not just a regular truck, it's like, I think they actually said it was bulletproof. And so they started to demonstrate it, and they had the designer of the truck there, and he started off by taking a sledgehammer to it, and I think, are you able to show that vid here? So they started off by saying, well, let's show you. This is a weird thing, like if you're trying to sell me a truck, show me how beautiful it is, how affordable it is, show me all the gizmos and gadgets maybe, show me what makes it cool. I wouldn't think you can hit my truck with a sledgehammer is in my top. I don't think I would, if you said give me 100 things you want in a vehicle, I don't even think I would ever think of that. Maybe if you forced me to give you 100 things I would want in a truck. But apparently that's one of their selling points, because they had a little demonstration. Here, take a look.
So we're able to make the skin out of thick, ultra hard stainless steel. It's really hard. We're going to show you just how hard. So, Franz has a sledgehammer. Now, don't hold back. Okay. Yeah. It's a regular truck door. Want me to do this? Ready? Do it. Yeah.
Stuff.
Yeah, hit it a couple times.
You want to hit it again? All right.
Yeah, nice. Now hit the Cybertruck. Same thing. Hit it harder. Yeah. Really wind up. Nail it.
All right, so it's made of stainless steel. I can only imagine how heavy that is. I mean, one of the reasons that cars are more fuel efficient and even more affordable these days is because they're made of composites or plastics. And I guess it's true, if you make a car out of rolled stainless steel, it's going to resist a sledgehammer. Okay, I guess that's sort of cool. But when people were breaking into the Teslas in San Francisco, they smashed through the window. And that's where this demo went very, very wrong. Do we have the window? So, Okay, so was that cool? The stainless steel smash thing? Okay, sort of. I just never in a million years would imagine that. Maybe people are thinking, okay, so if I bump into something, because I've been driving for 30 plus years. I've never had a sledgehammer issue with my car. I've scraped a few things, so maybe if it was cold rolled stainless steel, my car wouldn't be so scratched. Obviously, paint would be, and that looked like it was unpainted steel. But they proceeded to demonstrate how strong the windows were. And that's where this demo went very, very wrong. Here, take a look.
First, this is regular glass. This is like normal glass, car glass. I want to show you what happens with normal car glass. Shatters immediately with a little ball. Now I'll show you Tesla armor glass. Nothing. Yeah. But it's kind of a small ball though. It's maybe like do it at a bigger height with a yeah. Yeah, so still doing it, I guess. Yeah, not bad. Yeah. Yeah. Franz, could you try to break this glass, please? Yeah. Sure? Yeah. Oh my fucking God. Well, maybe that was a little too hard.
Should we try on the beer?
Sorry? Okay. It didn't go through. So that's a plus side.
Let's try the beer.
Try that one, really? Okay.
Yeah.
Sure.
Oh, man.
It didn't go through.
Oh my God, is that embarrassing? Is that embarrassing? I don't even know why you're making that part of the test. Would you agree with me that all those guys look like sort of Vegas magicians? Especially the guy who was dropping. He's got a bunch of magicians or something, but I think that's a perfect fit. Anyways, listen, while I was showing you these funny Tesla videos, I won't spend any more time on that, we managed to make a connection with Kian Bexley, who is now in Hong Kong. And there he is right now on the screen. Hey, Kian, how you doing?
Good, how are you?
Good, lei ho ma. I think that's how you say hello in Cantonese.
That is, yeah. Yes.
Well,
Can you hear me all right?
I can hear you great. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, well, give us an update. First of all, what time of day is it in Hong Kong?
It is it's almost 1 a.m. We just landed, myself and my cameraman landed here in the Hong Kong International Airport after a layover in Tokyo. It was a very, very long flight, but we finally got to our hotel and started exploring the streets. It's pretty quiet right now where we are, but we can see the signs of the protests pretty much wherever we go. I don't know if you can see right behind me. I'm going to try and show this on the screen. Can you see that?
Yeah.
It's a picture of Winnie the Pooh and Xi Jinping as Winnie the Pooh, which has become a common theme in this protest. The protester, well, Xi Jinping himself is said online at least that he really dislikes that image. So it's been posted on a lot of polls around the area. And what's interesting about right now, we came at a really good time because on Sunday are the general legislative elections. So there's actually campaigns going on throughout Hong Kong amid the protests. We've seen one of the actual council candidates had lost his ear from a rubber bullet just earlier last week. So things are quite tense here. People are on edge, and it's sad to see Hong Kong like this, actually. Hotels are dirt cheap right now, which is good for us coming here, but you can see, we were talking with the hotel agent as we checked in, and he said business is just dead. The Hong Kong dollar has dropped And for the people of Hong Kong, it's just really upsetting. We were talking to some more at the airport, and they said that they've never been so sad about Hong Kong, and they're thinking about leaving. In fact, they're actually going to visit family in Canada, and they figured they might just stay there.
Huh, wow. Now, if I'm not mistaken, you say it's after midnight there, so you would be there very early Saturday morning, so it's late Friday night there, am I right, with the date zone and the international date line?
Yes. Yeah.
Now, if I'm not mistaken, the weekends are generally when the big mass demonstrations happen. Is that correct? Are you aware that there will be mass demonstrations this weekend?
That's what we expect. Last weekend, the large demonstration was at the university. People were firing flaming bow and arrows and throwing Molotov cocktails to defend against police who were aggressively coming in with what looked like live rounds. So I'll just go through right now what the Hong Kong protesters are demanding. There's the 5 demands, and the metaphor is the 5 leaves on that Hong Kong flag. The first one is that they want the full withdrawal of the extradition bill. Right now, the bill is claimed to be dead, although it's not been totally pulled and claimed to never be brought back. The chief executive here has committed to never bringing that bill back, and that has some protesters upset. That's what originally brought the protesters to the street, was the fact that they could be extradited from Hong Kong, the city of Hong Kong, which is a special administrative region as per the agreement with the United Kingdom during the handover. They could be extradited. Political dissidents, media personnel, political opponents of Beijing, they could be extradited to the mainland and sent to gulags, basically, which they're not happy about. That bill is quote unquote dead, but it's not been fully withdrawn. The second demand is a full inquiry, open inquiry into police brutality. We've seen right now over 4,000 protesters be arrested for various things, from gathering where they're not supposed to actual vandalism and things of that nature. The third is
Don't worry about it, my friend.
Right
You've been traveling. You've been traveling nonstop for 18 hours, and you're jet lagged. I'm not trying to quiz you on the 5 points. We have heard them before. They're very modest. One is to the government had said it's criminal to protest. They wanted the decriminalization of the protests. They wanted an investigation into police brutality. Very, very modest. I should point out, none of the 5 demands were for independence or separation or for the overthrow of Beijing. And I say that because these are not actually radicals. A radical would say Hong Kong should be independent. That's not one of the 5 demands. But the thing is, I think, I was saying before you hooked up with us, I was making a comparison to the Roman Empire. If they had an uprising in some far-flung province, they would throw everything at it. Not because they cared so much about a little uprising, but because if it became known that little Judea could have an uprising, well, maybe they'd have an uprising in Gaul. They had to, and same here, if you could have an uprising in Hong Kong, maybe you'll have one in Tibet or Xinjiang, where the Uyghurs are. So that's my theory. What do you think about that? Is this now about China proving that it's tough?
Well, I know that, and hopefully you can hear me over the sirens, a bunch of police vans are actually driving, actually their entire semi-trailers driving right by us right now with sirens on full blast. No, I think you're right about that. And what's been said about these elections that are coming up here on Sunday is that it's a referendum on the protests. And if some key councillors are elected to a few of the seats that are actually electable seats, it's going to be seen as a major blow to Beijing and Xi Jinping, especially in Hong Kong. And you're right in that they said that this isn't a plea for separation. They don't want to return to the British Empire. They don't want to become a city-state on their own. They simply just want to maintain the liberty that was given to them from the British Empire when they were handed over. They want the agreement to be respected, at least for the next few decades until it eventually expires, which has protesters on edge, I'm sure, because, if you knew that your rights were going to expire in 23 years, I think it is, well, you would be protesting too, I would imagine.
Yeah. All right, well, listen, I'll let you get going there because you probably want to snooze because tomorrow's going to be a very big day. Be careful. I mean, obviously, we want you to cover the news, but we don't want you to be hit by a rubber bullet or, God forbid, a real one. But we do want you to cover the news, and we want you to champion democracy, because I think that other world events have distracted the mainstream media. And especially in Canada, there's such a love for communist mainland China. I don't think they're giving proper attention to this democratic uprising in Hong Kong. I really think it's important that you do this work. Our friend Avi Yamini is back in Hong Kong too. I hope you can hook up with him and just, he did great work for us last time. For our viewers at home, people can see all your reports at hongkongreports.com. And you and our cameraman, we flew you there. You're staying in hotels. You need ground transportation. I don't remember what the total bill is, but I think between your flights and the hotels and other costs, we're probably looking at about $5,000 Canadian. Is that about right?
Yeah, that's about right. We tried to cut costs as much as we could. And the Hong Kong dollar is cheap right now, but when it comes to, I mean, for example, to get from the airport to our hotel, it was about $50 Canadian.
And I mean, I don't want to give away secrets, but I don't think it's a problem to mention that you've brought gas masks to deal with the tear gas. Is that right?
Yeah.
How much did those cost?
Gas masks, helmets, they're about $150 a piece.
All right.
We just want to make sure our brains stay in our skull here. You know, reporters, we've seen videos of reporters being arrested, reporters being hit with, you know, the elbows of police officers and thrown to the ground. So we're not going to take any chances when we go to the actual protest to get footage and interview the protesters. We're going to make sure that we're as safe as possible.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think they're going to come for you. I don't think they're doing that. And of course, taking on a foreign journalist from Canada would be very bad PR from them. So I don't want to scare you off, and it sounds like you're taking good precautions. Obviously, I mean, I'm not going to call it a war zone yet, because it's not quite a war zone, but Tiananmen Square turned dark pretty quickly. So how long are you going to be there for?
We'll be here for about a week, and then we come home, hopefully. If we're not in a gulag in Beijing by then, we'll be back on Canadian soil by probably Wednesday next week.
Well, let me ask you one last thing. Yesterday, I on my evening show, I talked about an idea. I mean, Canada takes refugees from all sorts of places, many of whom don't speak English or French, don't have a modern education, don't have any modern job skills, and frankly, are a poor cultural fit for Canada. I'm referring, obviously, to Justin Trudeau's Syrians, 5 years later, 90% of whom are unemployed. And obviously Canada can't take all of Hong Kong, and the idea is to fight for Hong Kong and keep it free. But God forbid if they go full Tiananmen Square. Part of me thinks those protesters, they love liberty, they love independent courts, they love democracy, and they're willing to pay a price for it. They speak English, as all Hong Kongers do. They're well educated. I mean, it's all students who are leading the battle. They're not welfare state people. It's an entrepreneurial culture. They're smart. And frankly, here in Canada, we could use some Hong Kong Chinese to be a counterweight to the pro-mainland Chinese, which I think are the bulk of Chinese Canadians who are political these days. Part of me thinks that, God forbid, if things turn sideways, we should have real refugees that would be great Canadians. I don't know what the number would be, if it would be 5,000 or 10,000 or whatever. But if you're a student leader in Hong Kong fighting against communist China for free press, freedom of association, rule of law, you're my kind of person. That's my thought. That's what we set up a website called realrefugees.com. We got a bit of a petition going there. I don't know. Why don't you ask people over the course of your week there? I bet most of them are going to say, no, we want to stay and fight. But if it goes to the full Tiananmen Square, would they be interested in coming to Canada? I mean, when was the last time we had refugees come to Canada who were freedom-loving democracy activists?
Yeah.
We could use, I think, people like that.
Yeah, you're absolutely right about that, because you know as well as I do, our Prime Minister is a big fan of the basic dictatorship in Beijing. So as many Hong Kongers as we could have come over to Canada to offset our Prime Minister who loves authoritarian regimes, that would be awesome. You know, you said something about the protesters being smart, well-educated. employable. And you know, the first time I realized that these protesters were like nothing I've ever seen before, that they were actually really high IQ people, was when I saw a student come out onto the street and take a can of tear gas and solidify the toxins with liquid nitrogen. I don't know if you have the video, and I'm sure people have seen it because it went viral. But these people, they deserve to live in a place like Hong Kong used to be under the British Empire, back when freedoms were respected, when you could protest against the government, when you could do business without fear of police brutality happening right outside of your business doors. I think it would be great to have Hong Kong protesters come to Canada, especially and specifically the ones who are at risk of being extradited should the extradition law eventually pass. And you probably have seen this as well as I have, the videos of protesters being put on trains to go to places where it's not been released. Those trains very well could be going to mainland China, and every Hong Konger that is sent to a gulag in China is one that we should be bringing to Canada to keep safe, I believe. But these Hong Kongers are loyal to their country, they're loyal to their city, and I imagine they don't want to leave unless it's a worst case scenario kind of thing.
Yeah, I think we're showing right now that clip of them grabbing the tear gas, grabbing it, putting it in a cone, pouring I think that's liquid nitrogen on it. I think that's what they're doing. We're watching it right now, Kian. And yeah, I mean, it's just very, very interesting what they're doing. All right, well, listen, my friend, stay safe. Give us as much news as possible. They don't have to be long reports. If there's some very short thing that you think is remarkable, I don't care if it's a 30-second video. Our people want to see it because they sure won't get that kind of information from the CBC.
You're right. We're going to be trying to post things live and very quickly and very frequently on our Instagram channel. I believe that's rebel.news on Instagram. So people should check that out so that you can see what we're doing live as it happens. I'll also be posting on Twitter quite frequently as well.
Great. And of course, your longer pieces we'll have on YouTube and on our website as usual. And we'll post all of these things at HongKongReports.com. And I'd like to invite people to chip in. I mean, there's the airfare, there's the hotels, there's on-the-ground costs, and there's the cost of your gear. I think I'd have to do the accounting, but I think it's about $5,000 all in for you and the camera. And stay safe, my friend, and I look forward to the updates. This weekend's going to be a lot of big news, so look forward to your news over the weekends.
Absolutely.
Okay, you take care out there. Thanks for making the journey.
Yep, no problem.
Okay, there you have it. Kian Bexty joining us live via Skype. He just got off the plane. They went via Tokyo and then to Hong Kong. There they have it. They checked in their hotel and they were already on the streets and they saw some evidence of the protests to come. Let me take a minute and catch up on some super chats. MK Ultra says Musk is brilliant, but he clearly has got caught up in the whole real-life Tony Stark thing that Trendy's labeled him as. I think you're exactly right. He's a pleasure to watch. He's a real reality TV type star. But I think he's burning up a lot of other people's money, and it's getting weird, which is fun. I mean, I have no skin in the game, other than I guess I'm a taxpayer in Canada who has to subsidize his cars. Enoch, hey Ezra, what do you think about Tommy still being linked to Jew hater Owen Benjamin? How they rule ya was up Masada again in March this year, by the way. You know, I am not well informed about Owen Benjamin. I know he went on a bit of a tear there that made me uncomfortable. I really haven't watched any of his videos in many months, so I don't know what he's up to. I just haven't paid a lot of attention. I think Tommy is a Philo-Semite, and I know that from being his friend for years. Damon the Dammits, $20. Crumple Zone, save lives with crash tests. You're so right. I think, you know, I really don't know the thinking behind a stainless steel car other than it's really cool. Anyway, so that's that. More super chats. MVP. Hi, Ezra. You look like you're going for a jog. You know what? See, there you go. As long as I look like I'm going for a jog, maybe I don't have to actually go for a jog. Islanti, I'm a broke Canada. Buy gold because at this rate your savings will be worthless in 10 years. Could be. Metal Novak, remember that boomer idiot Charles Adler from The Sun? He's next level Trump and Kenny derangement syndrome. What happened to that guy? He's a next level lefty conspiracy theorist now. You know what? I was friends with Charles when he had his radio show, and then we were briefly overlapping at Sun News Network. So I don't want to attack the guy just for sentimental reasons and historical, personal reasons, but he is 180 degrees, or maybe at least 145 degrees, turned around from where he was before. And I can't really explain it. And it's not my job to explain it. Maybe it's a commercial decision by him, because there's really no room for true conservatives on the radio or any CRTC-regulated platform anymore. Maybe he genuinely has some sort of midlife epiphany. I heard from someone that he's gone vegetarian, and I can't imagine that hasn't changed his body chemistry. I mean, if I had to go vegan, I'm sure I would, my whole nature would change. I would probably buy a cat and vote for Jagmeet Singh or something. All right, I think I covered the super chats. Let me know if I'm wrong. We talked about real refugees a little bit. Can I show you something funny? Like we're recording this live. It's a live super chat. Live TV, you got to be casual about it. You got to be cool. You got to roll with things like Elon Musk. when his car was smashed by the magician, those guys looked like magicians dressed in black. The one guy, I think he was wearing a cape. The guy who was dropping the balls on the window, the steel balls, I think he was wearing a cape. Anyways, you got to roll with it. And Elon Musk, he said, he laughed, he chuckled, he didn't lose his temper. And that's how live TV is. CNN, some of their broadcasts are live, some are repeats, of course. And they did something the other day. Donald Trump was mocking one of the impeachment witnesses. Here's what he said. He said, "I've been watching people make phone calls my entire life. My hearing is and has been great. Never have I been watching a person making a call which was not on speakerphone and been able to hear or understand a conversation. I've even tried, but to no avail. Try it live." So he said this just yesterday because he was mocking the fact that all these impeachment witnesses never actually witnessed anything. They're all saying, well, I got a feeling, or I had a hunch, or it's my speculation, or I heard a rumor. None of them actually heard anything. In fact, most of them had never even had a conversation with Donald Trump, they never even met some of the primary actors. They're just low-level bureaucrats. And one of them, I guess, said, well, I wasn't on the call, but I overheard someone who was on a call, and Trump was basically saying, no, you didn't. You can't overhear someone on a phone call if you're not on the call. I mean, I suppose if your ear was right next to the phone, which obviously it wasn't. So you saw that. Donald Trump put a challenge out. He said, try it. Well, CNN tried it. Can I show you the video? You just got to love this. Take a look at this.
Very interesting theory from our president that he has really good hearing. Some would say the best hearing ever. And he's never been able to hear a phone call when it wasn't on speakerphone from anybody. So let's just play with that for a second. Mom, can you hear me? All right. So if I were holding the phone here, I'm with Dana Bash. You know how you're always telling me to let her talk because she's so smart and I shouldn't say so much. Can you just say hello? Mom, she probably can't hear me. Mom, can you hear me?
Yes, I hear you. When you talk to me, I hear you.
I'm talking to you. Say hello to Dana Bash.
Hi, Mrs. Cuomo. How are you?
Oh. All right.
I can't hear your mother, Chris.
Yeah,
just,
but you're over there. So
I'm sitting across the table.
This is not on speakerphone.
I'm sitting across the
It's
table.
not
I
on
can't hear.
speakerphone. It's regular phone. It's 2 feet away from Dana. She can hear my mother. I'm not sure Mom can hear us. Mom, thank you very much. Thank you for not saying anything that'll get me in trouble. I'll call you back.
Yeah, I think Trump proved his point. Don't you think, that's Chris Cuomo, don't you think you should have practiced that maybe during a commercial break or something? The only time, and by the way, Chris Cuomo himself has you see I've got a tiny little microphone right there? I don't know if you can see it. It's black on black there. You see that mic? So he's mic'd up with a mic very similar to this, right? And he had his mom, the only time you could hear his mom was when he pushed the speakerphone button. When he took his mom off speakerphone, so that microphone was this close to his phone, and you couldn't hear his mom other than the one time he put her on speakerphone. And the guy 4 feet away said, I didn't hear anything. And Dana Bash said, oh yeah, I heard something. Yeah, sure you did, sister. Boy, but even if they would have heard that, they would say, oh, we got him now. The walls are closing in. Impeach him now. His days are numbered. There's only, the boy who cried wolf. You know that story by Aesop's Fable. There was an Aesop's Fable, I think. It's just such a classic tale. How many tries did he have before people stopped believing him? I'm guessing maybe 2 times he lied, and on the 3rd time they didn't believe him. Or maybe it was 3 times he lied, and on the 4th they didn't believe him. So what's CNN up to now? Like 200 times they've said, we've got him now! We've got him now! And they didn't get him now. It's comedy. That was comedy. All right, it's 12:52. Let's see, we got the CNN tweet. What do we have from Don Cherry? Yeah, let's show that because people were interested in it. As you may know, we have a petition at supportdoncherry.com. The story's about 10 days old now. Not quite, I forget. Don Cherry said, hey, everybody, you got to wear PAPA. You people, you got to wear PAPA. Oh, my God, he said, you people, he's a racist, fire him. No, he wasn't a racist. He was sacked. It's a case of free speech. It's a case of respecting veterans and the war dead. It's a case of cancel culture. So we had a petition, almost 100,000 signatures. 93,000. That's a lot of signatures. So what do you do with a petition? Well, David Menzies took 1 copy to Rogers Sportsnet and handed it to a staffer there. Took 1 copy to Don Cherry's house and left it with Don Cherry's missus. And I understand he really liked it and left a thank you message for David. But the 3rd copy was for Ron MacLean, the longtime sidekick to Don Cherry, sort of the Ed McMahon to Don Cherry's Johnny Carson, and handed it to him. Now, we had trouble finding Ron MacLean, but we heard he was getting an honorary degree at the University of Alberta, so we sent Kian to U of A in Edmonton, and he waited respectfully till the whole ceremony was over and it was all done. He waited for 2 hours, and then he walked up to him and gave it to him, and Ron MacLean accepted it and didn't say much, but ooh, boy, Ron MacLean's wife, Carrie, she had a few things to say. Here, take a look.
Great. Kian, how are you? Kian, nice to meet you. How was the ceremony? It was lovely, yeah.
Congratulations.
Thanks, guys.
Terrific day. Lovely speech.
Thank you so much.
Awesome. I was hoping I'd be able to present you with this petition.
Okay.
It's 90,000 folks who signed it who support Don Cherry.
Great.
Who they watch your show and they're disappointed that he was fired. Of
course.
For standing up. They want your show. They want you yourself and Don to be standing up for veterans, and they're really disappointed that you didn't stand up for him.
Right.
So we're kind of curious. With this binder, we're kind of wondering if you think Don is actually racist. Sorry, I don't know who you are. Do you think Don is actually racist?
No. Why would he be fired?
Excuse me. This is Ron, please.
Why would he?
Excuse me. This is absolutely an educational institution. Okay? No, that is unacceptable.
You were grabbing me.
Everything today has been respectful.
No, sorry. What's your name?
It doesn't matter what his name is.
Doesn't matter.
Are you? Well, that's his wife here, right?
Hi, would I be able to give this to you?
No.
Okay.
This is a. Well, you know what? I don't mind the support. Okay, I don't mind the support. What we don't mind.
No, these are supporters.
These are supporters of Don. We are also a supporter of Don, so I don't mind that. We appreciate that support. We really do. But you're taking it. But you are crucifying my husband as a result of that. There's sides being picked.
I'm sorry, I'm not.
That you were very aggressive to him, and in a moment where that was unacceptable. Do you think? Did you see my husband was almost in tears? Do you think he wanted this to happen?
Why didn't he stand up for him?
Stand up in what way?
Why wouldn't he quit his job?
Why would he quit his job?
Because
well, that really makes
because
sense.
a Canadian saint was fired for no reason.
A saint?
Do you think he was? Do you think Don is racist?
Write a letter.
Sorry, what's up? Do you think Don is racist?
I wouldn't say the word racist. Do I think he's a bigot? Possibly.
You think Don Cherry's a bigot?
Possibly.
Oh, really? Oh, really? He's not a racist, but he's a bigot. Well, what's the difference, and what does that mean? And do you speak for Ron? Is that how you and Ron talk privately about Don Cherry? He was good enough. He was good enough for your husband to work with for decades. I'm not sure exactly how long they worked together. So if she's telling the truth, that she thinks Don Cherry's possibly a bigot, what does that make her for allowing her husband to become a multimillionaire by working with a bigot? If that's true, what does that say about her? I don't think it's true. I think it shows very bad character on her part to denounce a man that her husband threw under the bus. I think that's very disgraceful. And by the way, Keean Bexley waited until the university event was over. He did not go and interrupt the convocation whatsoever. I think that's very bad behavior on the part of Carrie McLean. But really, no difference between what she did and what her husband Ron did, other than she said her thoughts out loud. Ron is a bit smarter than her, I guess. All right, it's 12:57. I don't think we have time to start a new subject. I was going to talk about Sheila Gunn Reid and the fact that the election commissioner who had been harassing Sheila for months was sacked by the government of Alberta. I just don't think we have time to get into that because we only have about 90 seconds left today, but maybe we'll talk about it another time. There is another super chat, I understand, from a message in my ear that just came through. Let me see if I can find that. Sorry, I've got so many windows open here on my computer, I might not be able to find it. I apologize. I want to read all the super chats. I really appreciate it. I don't know if you know. There we go. Primpalo 8, ugly, expensive truck. Is it any wonder they require subsidies? Yeah, I mean, there are some people who like a really quirky vehicle. There are some vehicles that I think are a little bit fugly, a little bit ugly on purpose, and people choose them so they can, like maybe the Pontiac Aztec. Can you grab a picture of the Aztec? That was an ugly vehicle. And some people wanted it because they thought, that's so different. People will say, oh, you're the Aztec guy. I know what that's like. When I was in high school, my dad had a Checker Marathon, which was that big old New York style taxi. Remember, like 40 years ago, all the cabs in New York were these big, they looked like old fashioned, like 1950s cars. They weren't. They were a car called the Checker Marathon that was made until the 80s. That same style. My dad, that was before, minivans were around. So my dad had a couple of those cars, and I inherited one when I was in high school. When I was 16, I started driving myself. And it was, that's the Checker Marathon. That's almost exactly the one I drove. Mine was silver. And look at that thing. Ugly, right? By the way, look at that bumper. You want to talk about stainless steel. That's a Checker Marathon. I drove that to school every day. I should tell you that there were kids who had really hot sports cars, super cool, There were kids with really expensive cars, and of course there were kids with no cars. I had a hand-me-down checker marathon like that from my dad. That was, by the time I was driving it, I was 15 years later, I forget. My dad had a 1979 checker marathon, and I guess I was driving it in the 80s. So it was over a decade old. I loved it. It was so much fun. There's so much room, and kids would pile in, like we could have a ton of people in it. And so I thought, well, maybe if you can't be cool, at least have them talking about you. I was thinking, well, it's such an ugly vehicle, but okay, I'll just run with it. I think that same psychology is there for Elon Musk's ugly vehicle. Now, when you're a 16-year-old kid, you take whatever car you get, right? But imagine positively choosing to drive that super ugly Tesla truck. You're not doing it because it's beautiful. You're doing it because you want to be different and weird, and a little bit like Elon Musk. It's absolutely the virtue signaling tactic. All right, folks, it's after 1 o'clock. I hope you enjoyed the show today. I really enjoyed talking live with Kian Bexte from the streets of Hong Kong. Make sure you go to hongkongreports.com in the hours and days ahead. And if you can help cover the cost of his travel, I'd be grateful. I haven't looked at all the expenses. Obviously, we don't even have them all in yet, but it's probably going to be about $5,000 to send him and the cameraman there for a week. Until tonight, when I've got my show at 8 p.m. Eastern, or the next time you go to Kian's HongKongReports.com, or until Monday. From all of us here at Rebel World Headquarters to you at home, goodbye, and keep fighting for freedom.